Welcome back to another week of Three and Out. I am your host, Ryan Kieran, and I have eaten entirely too much Halloween candy in the past 3 days. With me, joining after his first loss of the season last week, is Keagan Stiefel. He'll be looking to take on an audience representative who will hop in when it's trivia time later tonight. Keagan, how you feeling after your first loss of the season?
We're just looking to bounce back. We're looking for a comeback, get back on the right track, much like the Patriots a few weeks ago. Things were looking grim, and they've been able to turn it around a little bit, so that's what I'm looking to do.
And it's a good point that you just bring up there, because the Patriots did have their best win of the season in Keegan's on Cincinnati, correct?
Correct.
Patriots did just have their best win of the season, their inarguable best win of the season, so let's get right into it. The Patriots went to LA and came home on Halloween with a win, 27-24 over the Chargers. Mac Jones was not his usual solid self. I'd say he struggled a bit in this game, but the running game was going for the most part. Final numbers kind of ended up looking a little worse, but they were getting yards when they needed to. Defense stepped up. Chargers were never really looked like they were comfortable in the game, and you walk out with 27-24 win. What's your biggest takeaway of the game, Keagan?
I'd have to say, despite his best efforts, Josh McDaniels wasn't able to kind of ruin this game for the Patriots offense.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really promising thing to see. Like, pretty much everything was thrown in front of them in terms of obstacles during the game, and they weren't really able to overcome them completely, but to get out of there with a win, to put together a full team game where the offense would get down into the red zone, not score. They did that in 2 straight possessions, ended up getting field goals. And then the defense came out and picked them right back up, the Adrian Phillips interception, and put them up 10. And despite that terrible last drive from the defense, or terrible last play from the defense, the fourth quarter they played, I think, their best fourth quarter of the season. So it was promising. I think the best word to describe the game is promising.
So like many who I'm sure, like many who are watching, the game was on Halloween right during trick-or-treating. I live in a condo community, so we had a ton of kids. So hand up, I was very in and out of the second half. So I don't have too many strong takes in terms of like on play or on field play of the second half. But the first half is the maddest I've been this season, outside of the Nick Folk decision to kick against the Bucks.
Yep.
They were gashing the Chargers up the middle, which is on the ground, which is exactly what you knew they were going to do against the Chargers. And then in every important situation, Josh McDaniels decided it was time to try to pass in the red zone. It was time. Yep. This was the game against 3 very good corners who were playing over the top and trying to force Mac outside and underneath the checkdowns. They decided this was the game that Mac Jones needs to start taking shots downfield and testing that. Which in general you like to see, but in a game that is winnable, and now you're starting to play yourself into talking about potentially getting a playoff spot, it was just infuriating. They come out in the second half, they just start pounding the ball, and they go and score, I believe, on their opening drive of the second half, right? Yep. They scored a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Opening drive of the game, and then opening drive of the second half. Those were their 2 touchdowns.
So it was just infuriating. Josh McDaniels, he gets hate on too much. Overall, there's really the correct takes on Josh McDaniels don't really come, because, and I'm guilty of this as well, it's either like
it's me
it's all out defense or it's all out hate, and I'm frequently on that all out hate when it's really not fair to him. But this was like a classic Josh McDaniels trying to throw the game away, like you were talking about.
I think, no, I don't want to go onto the Josh McDaniels path, because we'll talk about that for an hour, but for him, it feels like he's a great offensive game planner, or maybe he has help from Bill, but like the game plans going in always seem to be right. And then somewhere in the middle of the game, something goes wrong and he loses his mind. He remembers 3 play calls, and that's what he goes with. And this week of all weeks, to try to force Jacoby Myers the ball in the red zone and to abandon the run, like I was going to say earlier, I think the worst thing that happened to them was completing that deep ball to Nelson Aguilar early in the game, because they were like, oh, we can throw. Like, we can throw on this team. And then it was the decision-making from there on was, like, mind-numbing. So just overall with him, And with the offense, it's finding what works for them each week, because it's not going to be the same thing throughout the season. I don't think they're good enough for it to be like, this is what we do and we do it really well.
Right.
So each week they need to find what they're going to be able to do against that specific team and then ride that to the end. Because once they've found that in all 8 games this year, once they've found that thing that they can do against a specific team, they've been able to do it throughout the entire game. It's just whether or not they abandon it or go back to it or stay with it.
And this is going to bring us right into the next topic I want to talk about this game. D4 Soro saying, I saw people with very different opinions about Mac's last game. What do you guys think? Before we get into that, I just want to say, if you guys are watching us on Twitch, I appreciate you. If you're not following our Twitch and you just got there from the link on Twitter or whatever, go ahead and hit that follow button so that you don't miss streams moving forward. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching on Twitter, I imagine that you're already following us on Twitter to be seeing the link. We appreciate you anyway, but go ahead and head to the YouTube and Twitch and follow us there as well, if you don't mind. So let's get into that. I thought that Mac, if I were to kind of stack Mac's games this year, I'd say he has 2 very good games, which are his past 2 weeks, in my opinion. I'd say he has 4 games where he was solid to not really taking anything away from it moving forward. And then I think he has 2 bad games, and that was the Saints game and this game. I don't think he was very good today. I like in theory that they're starting to test the waters deep. He's starting to feel more comfortable taking those shots, but he looked more out of sorts and more like a rookie today than he has since he was spiking fumbles against the Dolphins in the first game of the season. So
yeah, I mean, the overthrows are in it. Like when you can notice one specific thing that's happening, like that's not a good thing.
Right.
And it was overthrows all day. And it wasn't like he overthrew a couple deep balls, but it wasn't like he was just chucking it out there. And he didn't have the touch that if Mac Jones doesn't have, like, if he's not able to put touch on throws and be accurate, like what is he really? I think
you're generally not winning games if that's not what he's doing, which is why this win is even. If you're someone who's hoping for a playoff spot this season, that this win is just absolutely massive, because this is not a game talent-wise that you should have won, and even really how it played out is not a game you should have won. I saw a lot of people kind of hating on Keenan Allen's comments, but I thought he was right, to be honest. Like the Chargers beat themselves. The Patriots the Chargers beat themselves, and you can give credit to the Patriots game plan, but the Patriots game plan was, hey, we're going to play zone. We're going to play cover 2, and the Chargers didn't know how to adjust. So that's an indictment on the Chargers more than it's credit to the Patriots. But still good on the Patriots, I guess, for switching up so basically that the Chargers poop themselves.
Listen, if they can't stop, like, I'm not saying this is what they did, but if they can't stop cover 2 for the entire game, or if they can't get past cover 2 for the entire game, then like, why would you ever
unserious franchise?
Yeah. Why would you change it up? Like, we're not going to ding the Patriots because they played the most basic defense you can play, and it worked. That's
It's not taking anything away from them, but I think that what Keenan Allen said is more or less correct as well.
Yeah, and back to Jones just real quick. Like, if
I want to circle back,
I think for me that was the worst game that he's played just overall, because he was never able to get anything going, and there were drives where he's the reason that they stalled out and weren't able to keep going. I don't think that was the case in the Saints game. I think the Saints just kicked their ass. Like that was a team wide loss. So this was on him, but like we said earlier, like promising, exciting. You know, it's a good thing that when he came out and had the worst game of his young career so far, you were still able to win, and you're headed into the next week feeling good about yourself.
They set up a roster in the offseason that was supposed to be a lot deeper, a lot more solid, less holes across, that should be able to support a rookie QB to win games where he's not playing his best. And you haven't done that yet this season. You've lost all the games like that this season. So this was a great step in the right direction. You mentioned the overthrows. I saw Mike Reese had a tweet. He counted 10 overthrows in just the first half for Mac. I saw one. I tried to find the source on it. I couldn't go back and find it. Sorry about that. But they had him with 9 off-target passes overall in the whole game. So either way, that's the most of his career, most of his season and career. He also had the highest average depth of target of his career. I believe it was about 9.7. Somewhere in that range.
It was in the 9s. I know
I should have written it down in my notes, but stupid and didn't. And the cynical person would say those kind of go hand in hand, right? Which naturally do. You're taking deeper shots. Everyone's less accurate. No one is more accurate throwing deep except maybe Cam Newton when his, last year. Last year, Cam Newton might be the only season in history where a quarterback was better throwing deep than short.
2015, the Philly Brown and Ted Ginn, they
Right. Yeah.
Same guy.
Exactly. So it, in reality is probably more about the fact that in the first half, the Chargers pass rush was demolishing him. Even when they weren't touching him, they were getting constant pressure, which again is another reason they should have been running the ball in those situations, and they weren't. But I do think what Dark Blue Gold said, I'll bring it back up on the screen. He kept at it, and he had a solid last drive. The last drive a lot was just, managing the game to run the clock. But you do a lot of rookie quarterbacks in that situation would end up, losing their composure, and he really didn't. Yep. And he didn't make that back-breaking interception trying to do too much, making up for it, which, again, you can look at that positively or negatively. If you want to say negatively, like, you kind of like a rookie quarterback who's willing to take those chances. He didn't, but you won the game because he didn't. So it comes out as a win in this situation.
Yeah, it was a really good last drive from him. There was one play, I think it was the first crosser to Jacoby that went for like 13, 14 yards where he stayed in bounds and he slid. It was past midfield, and he looked. I don't know if I've ever heard this term said out loud, but he looked off a linebacker, out of coverage, and was able to fire it to Jacoby. And it was like, that's such a cool thing to see from a rookie quarterback, because usually the rookie's going to throw their receiver directly into that linebacker and get him killed. Yep. And it was cool. Like, looked him off a little bit. He had a really good throw to N'Keal Harry on the sideline, where I think it was the most zip that he had on the ball all game, and he did it in the fourth quarter where he already had like 30 throws under his belt. So stuff like that, the gamer stuff that, when it counts the most, are you going to show up? Are you going to be able to rectify what you haven't been able to do to that point? He was able to do that. So another notch into the promising belt.
He continues to solidify his floor, in my opinion. Yep. I feel very good that if Mac Jones doesn't get to the levels that any Patriots fan hopes he gets to, he is at least going to have a long career as a starter, because he's just very solid. You hope he ends up more than that. If he doesn't end up more than that, maybe that ends up hurting you long term, but it's rookie optimism season. We're not going to talk about that right now. He continues to solidify his floor, and he gives you enough reason to be hopeful about his ceiling. And
I think he's the kind of guy.
Pick,
go ahead.
For a 15th overall pick who you didn't trade up for, like, that's that there you can count. You might be able to get to two hands if you're counting the number of second, or I guess in the teens or later, quarterbacks that weren't traded up for that have at least had that level of success in their career. So he's a hit. I mean, he's a hit.
Yeah. A quarterback that can like stand up straight at this point is kind of a hit for most people. Like, we've seen some bad ones, but for him, I think you said solidified his floor. Like, for me, he's a guy that's not going to lose you a game.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to throw a game away, even right now, and definitely moving forward. Like, next year, I think you can go into the year being confident that, like, this guy's going to get us whatever the talent of the roster is, however many wins we believe that they can get. He's going to get them for us. Right. Can he get any more than that? That's where you're starting to be like, all right, now what can we see from you? Because right now, I think, like, I think this is an 8-9 win team roster. I think he can get you that.
I completely agree with you there. The last thing I want to say, and I'm just gonna mention this quickly, we won't have to talk about it, is my anti Brandon Bolden agenda continues. He keeps making plays exclusively when he has wide open space to run into, and it still seems like it's getting rewarded for him. I completely get his value as a pass blocker, especially compared against some of the young guys. But Damien Harris looked good as a pass blocker on Sunday, from what I saw. Again, second half I was a little bit in and out, so I don't want to take firm takes from this game for myself personally. But Damien Harris looked good as a pass blocker. Ramondre Stevenson, I think, had a couple solid pass block reps. So as soon as you feel comfortable enough, like even 75% is comfortable with them as Brandon Bolden, I want Brandon Bolden out of here. I'm over it. Love Brandon Bolden. Long-time Patriot that doesn't feel like a long-time Patriot, but
10 years. We're coming up on 9 out of 10 seasons he's been with New England.
Keep racking those up. Keep racking that up as an inactive, please. All right, let's move on to the preview. And in my opinion, this is the biggest game of the season so far for the Patriots. If you're taking storylines out of it, Tom Brady, obviously biggest game, but talking about team and rest of the season implications. This is the biggest game of the season. They're at Carolina, 2-4-4 teams. Carolina started 3-0, beating up on some bad teams. Lost 4 straight before beating the Falcons last week in a kind of a nail biter. Patriots coming off their best win of the season, like we've been talking about. They haven't stacked wins really this year. The Chargers were the first quality team that they beat, right? They've beaten the Jets twice and the Texans outside of it. So you want to see them come out against a team that they're more talented than. They haven't had the same. The Panthers' ceiling this season, based on what we've seen so far, is higher. Those first 3 games, they look better than anything the Patriots have done. But the Patriots are the better team in this matchup, talent-wise, and you want to see them go there and build off this and not have a letdown and go win like a semi-comfortable game. You want to see like a 10-point win here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Carolina to me is they came out swinging. Like Phil Snow was calling blitzes every play. Like he had 6-7 guys rushing the passer. They came out swinging and people were like, holy, who is this team? Whatever. They won a few games. They've been, since their third win, since week 4, really, they've been abysmal. They haven't been good. I tweeted about it this morning. Like Sam Darnold, he didn't look good during the first 3 weeks. He looked fine. I think
he looked like Josh. He looked like second-year Josh Allen that had the most value as the best running back on his team. Once Christian,
I think the last 3 weeks are probably as bad as he's looked. Period. He hasn't looked good at all, and I think
he's seeing ghost level of bad right now.
Yeah, despite the injury and everything like that, I think the Panthers are better off playing PJ Walker at quarterback than they are him. And I don't know if we were going to talk about that, but that's something that the Patriots should probably worry about.
Let's hop into the injury report, and we'll talk about that during it. So for the Patriots today, J.C. Jackson did not participate with an illness that I have to assume is not COVID related because he would be on the COVID list if it was. Right. Christian Barmore, Jawan Bentley, Carl Davis, Cody Davis, Kyle Duggar, Nick Folk, Dante Hightower, Shaq Mason, Jonnu Smith, Josh Uche, and Kyle Van Noy were all limited. Last week we saw about the same amount of limited players and none were inactive. So, we're getting to that point in the season that everyone's a little banged up. So take the limiteds with a grain of salt. You're really concerned about DNPs at this point in the season.
Yeah, injured reserve is racking up too. Like they're stacking bodies on injured reserve. So I don't think they want any more there.
Right. The Panthers, Sam Darnold was limited with a concussion and a right shoulder injury. Stantley Thomas Oliver was limited with a toe. Jermaine Carter, Cameron Irving, Stephon Gilmore, CJ Henderson, Matt Paradis, Terrace Marshall, and Shaq Thompson were all full participants. So PJ Walker said today that he is preparing this week as if he's going to be the starter, which is, backups say that all the time. I always prepare as if I'm the starter, but he's like taking starter reps sounds like what he's expecting for this week. Right. Are you more concerned? Obviously, we've seen incredibly limited PJ Washington, but he's a mobile quarterback with a cannon. And as of late, mobile quarterbacks have seemed to give the Patriots some fits. Are you more concerned about PJ Walker than Sam Darnold?
1,000,000%. I tweeted something out basically just saying like the Patriots should be worried about that more than they are about the whole Stephon Gilmore thing or whatever, any other story. They should be looking at Carolina's quarterback. And someone responded and they said, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Basically meaning like, who Sam Darnold is. You've played him, I think 5 times or 4 times in his career. He's looked as bad as he has in his entire career. He's had his worst games against the Patriots. The Patriots have basically made him the worst quarterback that they've played under the Belichick regime. Yeah. He's been terrible. So it's like that guy's coming in. Why wouldn't you want to play a guy who you've handled thoroughly in the past instead of a guy who you've never played before? He's got all of the skills that have given you trouble over the past 3 years. Mobile quarterback. He's got a strong arm. He's not just a tuck it and run it guy, which they've been fine with because they like the quarterback spy thing. They've got guys on their roster that can do that. Josh Uche, whatever. Yeah. So they've handled those guys. He's a guy who can get out of the pocket, look downfield, and make a throw. And I think that's a very scary proposition for the Patriots. That's something that they want nothing to do with. And I think they're going to get it this week because if I'm Carolina, if I'm Matt Rule, this with 2 injuries to Darnold, this is the perfect, even if he's healthy enough to play, the perfect excuse to see what you have. Maybe not, I don't think PJ Walker's ever going to be a starter in the NFL, but like for this team specifically, can he win us a couple games? I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to see that. And I don't think the Patriots want that to happen.
I completely agree with you. Sam Darnold, I will never be scared of Sam Darnold again for the rest of my life. So nope. Just keep him in the game. And if he beats you, you can go cry in embarrassment. One thing that I want to talk about, we'll we'll keep this preview kind of light, but I do, and I know you had some takes that I want to bring up, or I want to give you a platform for. Josh Uche has had a very quiet most of the season. He racked up 3 sacks in the first 2 games. Doesn't have any sense. Been dealing with a bit of an injury. His snap counts have gone down, or haven't gone down, but he isn't playing a lot.
They're fluctuating.
Yeah, fluctuating is a good word for it. Thank you. Let me pull him up real quick. So he played 28% of snaps week 1, 48%, 40%, 24, 29, 43, 43 the past couple weeks. So he's back on the upswing, but he still doesn't really have counting stats to show for it. He doesn't have a tackle for loss, a quarterback hit, or a sack since the first 2 weeks of the season. Are you concerned about him? Is there something that you think is going on with him? Have you seen anything where usage-wise he might be getting missed out? Is he getting passed on the depth chart? And what are you feeling about him right now?
So I'll give you my take right away. I think they're molding Josh Uche, the athlete that is Josh Uche. I think they're trying to put some weight on him. I think they're trying to get him a little bit stronger. I think they're trying to get him better against the run. And they're not willing to do that in game like they were last year. Like you saw his usage rate go up last year. And the pass rush stuff is always going to be there. He's really good. And even though he doesn't have the counting numbers this year, I think he's been effective when he's been in there. He's just not in there as much as he was previously. And when you're a pass rush specialist, let's say, when you're only coming in to rush the passer, but you're not able to see the guy who you're rushing against and consistent reps and to get anything off of him, then it's like you're running against a brick wall pretty much, right? So I think he's this year, and for what they're planning on using him this year, I think it is disappointing. I had him as my defensive player of the year for the Patriots. Nope, that's not who he is. I got off on a tangent. To go back a little bit, I think what they're doing is like, we're going to give you 2 years, and we're gonna try to mold you into the player that we need you to be. And then at that point, if you're not that guy, then we're probably going to have to move on a little bit. But you've seen in the past 2 weeks since Chase Winovich went down with an injury, he's their number 1 sub rush guy over Jamie Collins, who they just signed. I mean, they're taking Kyle Van Noy off the field for him, which they love putting Kyle Van Noy on the field. A few weeks ago, he played 92% of the snaps, Kyle Van Noy. So, like, if they're taking that guy off the field for him, they know there's something there. And I think it's probably going to creep up here a little bit as the weather gets colder a little bit, and everything kind of condenses down when you're playing teams. Everything's smushed together in the middle, and like I said, everything condenses down, and that's where he's going to be able to show whether or not he's going to be able to play the run. Because that's the thing: can he play the run? Can he stop the run at all? Not even on a consistent basis, but he's looked pretty bad, and they've got him on the edge, and I think they're content with having him there. I had the take that they were going to move him off ball, or at least try to put him in like a Jamie Collins type role where he can do both. I don't think they're going to now from what we've seen. They want him on the ball. They want him to be that stand-up outside rusher. So in the next few weeks, I think you're going to really see what he's going to become. But I'm fine with not taking anything away from the first few weeks of the season, just because that's where you're learning about who you are and what your team is. And maybe he's just not a fit right now.
The concern, if you are a Josh Uche fan, is kind of what we've seen. You mentioned Chase Winovich, that's gone on with him, someone who flashed as a mid-round, edge, showed great pass rushing promise, and then kind of is consistently falling out of the rotation to the point that everyone's kind of looking around waiting to see if he's going to end up traded, like what's going to happen with him, because they're so deep at the position, and he really provides you one thing, and they don't like people who provide you one thing. So even if you're really good at that one thing, you're only getting those situational, for him, it would be pass rush reps. So you might only be playing 15 snaps a game, and it's really hard to build momentum that way. So my concern meter is like a 4 out of 10 for Josh Uche right now. It's getting to the point where my eyebrows are getting raised. I'm not like, what's going on here? I still have faith in him. I like everything that you said. I'm willing to give him a pass there and see what happens going into next season. And at that point, that's when we can start kind of raising the issue, really.
I think the most concerning thing is his special team snaps are like at 1 and 2 every week. Yeah. Which if you're not contributing on defense or special teams, then what's the point? With, like, for me, especially on a Bill Belichick team where he has, there are 10 special team players on this roster, not including the kickers and the long snappers. Like, they're Jelani Tavai, Calvin Munson, Cody Davis, Slater, all of them. They're all just special teamers, which takes away from some of these defensive guys or offensive guys who might be getting these snaps. But if you're not able to contribute on either, on a Bill Belichick team, I feel like you fall to the back of his mind, and he doesn't even think about you, which is a terrifying proposition for a second-round pick. We saw it with N'Keal Harry, who he never contributed on special teams. Yeah, on Sunday he played his first special team snap as a Patriot. Yep. It's been 2.5 years, and he played his first special team snap. That's those are the kinds of guys that fall off the face of the earth and end up getting traded or cut.
Also worth noting for Harry, after Kendrick Bourne's fumble on Sunday, Bourne only played one more snap, and Harry took over that.
He played 15 more for that. Yep.
So
out of 15 out of 32.
Yeah. So as Kendrick Bourne fan number one, that I'm not a fan of that, but good to see that N'Keal Harry is at least getting what might be a final chance in New England here, and he's looked okay. He really isn't getting targets his way. He's not separating, but when they're throwing the ball up, he had the catch a couple weeks ago. That's the type of thing he can do. Just give him that 3 times a game.
I've been screaming it on the internet for 2 years now. We know he's not what you thought he was going to be.
I don't know why they thought he was going to be that in the first place.
Right. But now
they clearly misunderstood how they were supposed to be using him.
Absolutely.
College, which is a concern. Again, you look at their wide receiver history, you look at just their personnel moves in general in the past few years. It's a concern, an overall procedural concern. But off my soapbox, continue.
Yeah, but now, in this very moment, who N'Keal Harry is. He's a guy who can go up and get a contested catch, but that's pretty much it. That's it. He can run an okay route on the outside. He can block, and he can make the contested catch. So give him the opportunities. Don't just keep him on. He's not even a healthy and active, which I think at this point, a lot of players or a lot of Patriots fans would be like, all right, fine. Now we don't even have to worry about him.
Right.
But now when he's active and he's on the field for a few snaps and he's not doing anything, it drives people crazy.
Yep.
But in the past couple of weeks, he's been able to show what he's able to do. And promising is the theme of this episode. We saw Bill Belichick say, on the mic'd up segment where he goes to Cameron Accord, he's like, look at N'Keal. Did you see that catch? It was the same one he had in practice. And then he walked up to N'Keal and he goes, same one in practice, and gives him a high five. And it's did he remember who N'Keal Harry is now?
Right.
Are we going to see N'Keal Harry on offense? And we have. He played his highest snap count of the year last week and had a couple catches and played well.
If you're going to spread the targets out the way that they have, there's no reason to not just throw him 2 or 3 a game. Let's move on though. This
real quick. My last thing on N'Keal Harry: 3 targets a game, all within inside the 20s or in short yardage situations. That's all you got to do.
Absolutely.
3 targets a game, and he's going to get you a touchdown probably every other week because that's who he is.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Let's get into segments here. Second down. We're going to start. We're going to bring back Who Am I? The most the most frequent segment. Haven't had it in a few weeks. I'm going to get back into it. So I'm going to give you 3 players. I'm going to read a little description. It's like a little trivia warm-up for you. Chat, go ahead and guess along. So I'm going to read you the first one. You're going to guess who it is. We're going to talk about it. They're all going to be players either on the Panthers or the Patriots. And we'll talk about the impact that they might have in this game this week. So, Number 1, a former first-round pick. I had a disappointing start to my career before a 12.5 sack season in 2020. Currently 5th in the NFL in sacks in 2021 as well in my first year for Carolina. Who am I?
That is Hassan Reddick.
That is Hassan Reddick. Obviously came from the Cardinals last year, or off his rookie contract, signed with the Panthers this year.
Yep.
I don't think people realize that he is 5th in sacks. He is right behind Matt Judon. He's 7.5 on the season. He's turned himself into a good pass rusher. Out of college, he's kind of billed as like a do-it-all Jamie Collins type, that kind of unicorn mold that really hasn't panned out. But as a pass rusher, he's really kind of found his stride lately. And Brian Burns has kind of had a down season, at least numbers-wise. Their premier pass rusher. So Reddick's kind of taken on that role of that pass rusher that you fear the most on the defense.
Yeah, they run that defense where they have 2 edge guys, one on each side, who it's we don't care what you do, just go after the quarterback.
Exactly.
I just came up with this right now. It's the only thing I have on Hassan Reddick. I think he's fine. I really hope that's not who Josh Uche becomes. Like,
Right.
so disappointing with his first
Yep.
team and a contract year. He blows up and then leaves because it just came to me like, oh man, that might be who that is.
That's
especially in this system.
Josh Uche was always billed as more of a pass rusher. Hassan Reddick was always like an off-ball linebacker, where Uche would be like the edge version. But yeah, they're athletically very similar.
At this point, that's who Reddick is, though. Like Reddick's an edge guy. So
Yep. So second one, so not a whole lot there. I don't think many people realize the season he's having. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Someone to watch on Sunday. Number 2,
Shaq Barrett situation.
Yep. After a surprising first season in Carolina, after leaving the AFC East, I've had a disappointing second season, but maybe due for a breakout soon. Who am I?
I would assume it's an offensive player, but I'm drawing a blank. Is it Robbie Anderson?
It is Robbie Anderson. You're 2 for 2. So I have a couple numbers on Robbie Anderson that I'm sure I didn't write down. Nope, there it is. Okay. So Robbie Anderson is second on the Panthers in targets behind DJ Moore. DJ Moore by far has the most. But he is second, and he has more targets than the third and fourth leading targets getters on the Panthers combined. So he's still seeing targets. He is not connecting. I think he has 19 catches on 50-something targets on the season. But he's getting open enough or still part of the offense enough to get those targets. And he is someone that's had success against the Patriots in the past. Speed, home run threat, kind of tall, very thin. He concerns me. He seems like someone that can present matchup problems for the Patriots. J.C. Jackson's a more talented corner than he is wide receiver, but that's the type of matchup that J.C. typically will get beat a few times on. I won't say struggles, but those are the type of wide receivers that he'll lose to. Devontae Parker kind of owns J.C. Jackson for a similar reason. Not quite the same player, but similar builds at least.
I mean, and J.C. Jackson's a trail corner. Like he's not going to get up in your face and run your route for you. Right. And you don't trail Robbie Anderson. Like Robbie Anderson leaves you in the dust. So I also think that's an issue.
It would be a great John Jones matchup.
I was just about to say it stinks that John Jones is on IR because that's the matchup. They do it with him. I won't say every week, but like 8 weeks out of the year, it's like, John, that's your guy. You're going to take him. They did it with Antonio Brown. They tried it in Miami against Miami with Jalen Waddle. Like that, it's what they do. So it sucks that John Jones isn't there. I think the worst thing that happened to Robbie Anderson this year is that Sam Darnold,
came back.
His least favorite quarterback
came
of all
back
time,
into his life. It's
who he said openly was like, I hated playing with Sam Darnold, and then they traded for Sam Darnold like a week later. So
it's Allen Robinson. Like, obviously DJ Moore's their best wide receiver. You put this game is tough for JC Jackson. I don't really like either of these matchups. I think you put him on DJ Moore because he's the best corner. Like we said, you don't trail Robbie Anderson. I think he can have a fair amount of success, but then you're looking at, you go Miles Bryant on Robbie Anderson, you go Jalen Mills on Robbie Anderson, you go Jawan Williams and kind of try to beat him up at the line. I don't really like a matchup for Robbie Anderson this week, and he scares me more. Even if Christian McCaffrey comes back, he scares me more than anyone else offensively that's going to be in this game for Carolina.
I think no matter who you put on him, like Bryant, Williams, Mills, you're going to have to play that little Tyreek Hill kind of situation where it's like Devin McCourty is always there. He's always going to be there. When the ball gets to whoever the receiver is, McCourty's going to be there first. So, which it's tough on that defense because now you're leaving Kyle Duggar or Adrian Phillips on an island on the other side of the field. Yeah. But I just think that's how they're going to have to play it. They don't really have a choice. None of those guys can keep up with Robbie Anderson.
Yep. All right, third one. A rookie, my snap counts have broken the 60% threshold each of the past 2 weeks, and this week I got credit for my first half sack of my career. Who am I?
Christian Barmore.
It is Christian Barmore. You went 3 for 3, my friend. I think that was an easy one, though. Christian Barmore appreciation post. I don't really have a whole lot to add here, but he's becoming a through. We talked about how Josh Uche, Chase Winovich kind of falling out of favor because they're not 3-down guys. Christian Barmore was not a run defender. He was an interior pass rusher, and he is already a 3-down guy for them.
He didn't even play first downs at Alabama. Like they wouldn't let him. They didn't need him to, but that says something that he could come into the NFL and almost immediately do it. We talked about him on the mock draft show in the offseason, which will be back this year, by the way. So be ready for that in the offseason in a few months. We talked about it. He was a frequent option at 15. We took him, I think, week 1, and the audience hated us for it. I don't think we really loved ourselves for it either, but we took him,
And
it was between him and Kwity Paye, and then 2 weeks
yeah.
later we took Kwity Paye. So
yeah, we talked about it. Ideally, you trade down for him or you get him in the second round. We didn't really think he'd fall to them. They had to trade up in the second round to get him, but they got him in the second round, and he's their Mac Jones has to be their rookie of the year, but Christian Barmore, if he continues on this path, is going to put up an equally impressive rookie season.
I think
you love that.
He's got a chance next year to be one of their best defenders.
Absolutely.
And that's saying something. And he's the kind of defensive tackle that they haven't had since. He's not Richard Seymour. I'm saying it right now. He's not Richard Seymour. He's the first
body type archetype, though. Yeah.
Yes, he's that kind of player where he can play all three downs. He can play anywhere on, maybe not zero tech, like he can't play nose tackle, but he can do everything else on the defensive line. And they've had him do it. It's week 8 or week 9, and he's done it all.
I want to go a little less lofty with my comp and more recent. So I would technically disagree with you about your Richard Seymour comment. Akeem Hicks. I think he can be Akeem Hicks, who is a great player, was great in New England, has been great in Chicago since. I think Pat calls it one of his biggest.
It was the white whale
getaways, whales of Patriots guys who have left the Patriots is Akeem Hicks, which is a good take by Pat, who has many of them. That's what I see for Christian Barmore. That's if he becomes Akeem Hicks, that is a steal. That is a great piece, and that's a long-term game-changing piece that you give multiple contracts to.
Yeah, so, Ty Warren was a name that just came to my head.
Yep. So obviously very early. We're not leaping to that yet, but what we've seen from him, and even the progression we've seen, because he wasn't very good against the run early on either, even when he got a chance to play against it, and he's been solid recently. So you see this progression. I'm very excited about Christian Barmore.
And I think the big thing in the past few weeks is they've started to play a more they're going to penetrate the line of scrimmage, where it used to be all 3 guys on the line. You guys are 2 gapping. We're going to work from there. Now it's especially with Barmore, get up the field and draw a penalty or hit the running back, do anything. And it's worked better for them in the past few weeks. I think it's a defensive, a philosophy change that's going to work really well for them moving forward.
Completely agree. Let's get into midseason superlatives here. You mentioned Josh Uche was your preseason Patriots Defensive Player of the Year. So we're going to run it back. Keegan, Brian, and I did, before week 1, we did our season predictions. So Keegan and I here will circle back to it. Keegan, did you write down? I know I sent you your week 1 picks. Did you write them down? All right. I can pull them up if you did. Okay, cool.
I've got them.
So we're going to go me, then you. I'm going to switch this around so it follows the screen. You go me, then you, or you, then me, sorry. And tell me who you picked preseason for the category and who you're changing to now, or if you're keeping the same one, all that. And then just a quick sentence or two about why.
Okay.
So the first one is Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I picked Micah Parsons before the season. I distinctly remember saying that he was the only guy that was going to have a chance to get that award. I didn't think any of the rookie defenders, at a high level, were going to be able to have the opportunity. I disagree now, even though I think he's probably number 2 for me. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who just added a last name after he got drafted, which is a very cool move.
Yeah.
He's very good, and he's
what was cooler. And these are 2 guys whose stock I know.
Odafe Owe.
There we go.
Odafe
Owe cooler.
So during the draft show, I distinctly remember saying Jason Owe stinks. I did not like him. I thought he didn't have the size to play any kind of defensive line thing. He had the athleticism, but he stunk at Penn State. Didn't do anything. That guy's so good. He changed his name and he became an all-pro player. He's the best. So big Odafe Owe fan. But Joe Tryon-Shoyinka stepped into, I think it's a really good defense. Some others would disagree. But Tampa Bay,
it's a good front 7 for sure.
Yeah, so he basically cut out the back end. Who cares? That's a great front 7. They've got a ton of talent, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea, JPP, Devin White, Levante David, all pro level players. Sue, he stepped in and he's a starter right now, and he's playing 80% of the snaps. And he gave the Patriots fits. He threw N'Keal Harry out the club when they played New England. He's been very good. So him. Sorry, I went very long on that.
No, you're good. So I was a Joe Tryon when he was still Joe Tryon fan coming in the draft. I hyped him up on our Edge episode of the mock draft show. So I love seeing the success here. I took J.C. Horn preseason, which was setting myself up to be wrong always because cornerbacks don't win awards other than Stephon Gilmore Depoy. But my thought process there was it was a disappointing defensive class. J.C. Horn's a stud, has been pretty good for the Panthers. And I didn't think that any of the other the defensive linebackers or edges were going to put up numbers worth the award. So if J.C. Horn kind of gets that reputation going, kind of has a Trevon Diggs type interception season that we're seeing Trevon Diggs have right now, he could get some buzz there. That was kind of the shot in dark I was taking. Then the Cowboys did what I said should be happening on our linebackers episode of the mock draft show, and Micah Parsons is now an edge defender, which is what he always was. I hope they don't move him back to linebacker because Micah Parsons, the edge, has a significantly higher upside than Micah Parsons, the linebacker. I said it on the show. They did it out of necessity, but now they should be doing it forever. This is his position, and I am changing my pick to Micah Parsons. So next,
I'm counting that as a win for me.
Yeah, I was surprised that you switched out of it. I thought that was it. That was pretty easy.
I didn't know if you were going to go with Micah Parsons, but Joe Tryon deserves a lot of love.
He does. He does. I respect it. So offensive rookie of the year is the next one.
I said Justin Fields, and to no fault of his own, he's definitely not going to win it.
No.
The Bears I think they're going to ruin him, which breaks my heart. The clip you've seen
last week gave me hope. He's so
a little bit.
Just get Matt Nagy out of here. Just get Matt Nagy out.
Definitely not for rookie of the year. Like he's not winning it. No so I had this argument with Pat. Jamar Chase is the offensive rookie of the year. There is no other option. I don't care that he plays wide receiver.
Yep.
He's the offensive rookie of the year, so I'm going with that. It's not Mac Jones.
Yep. I said Trevor Lawrence. I also say Jamar Chase. I thought you might go Mac Jones. I'm not going to say I'm glad you didn't because Mac Jones should be second. If this award gets, if this was a win place show, Mac Jones would be second. But it's Jamar Chase. He's establishing himself as a top 5 to 10 wide receiver in all of football in the deepest era of wide receivers of all time. And he's 6 games into it, or 7 games, 8. What are we at? 8 games into his rookie season.
He's 7 so far.
He is 7. Yeah, that's right. He is a monster. He is again, not to continue to reference the mock draft show. He's what we said coming in. We
were right. It's okay to tell people.
People wanted to try and talk it down. Yeah, people wanted to try and talk it down, overthink it. Devontae Smith, get out of here. Jalen Waddle, get out of here. It's Jamar Chase. It's Rashad Bateman second. Y'all will see soon. But Jamar Chase is the rookie of the year. And
if he finds his foot.
Exactly. If Chase gets hurt, it'll be Mac Jones right now. If the season ended today and Jamar Chase was ineligible, it would be Mac Jones. So shout out Mac. This isn't to take away from Mac, but it's Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I think he needs like 3 more weeks and he's got it wrapped up.
Yeah,
he could get hurt after that.
As soon as he clears like 1,000 yards, which I think he's like 200-300 yards away from at this point, he's got it, in my opinion. Okay, Patriots defensive player of the year.
I said Josh Uche. I referenced it earlier. That's objectively a terrible pick. And it's Matt Judon. There's no other option. I know. I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah. So I said Matt Judon. It is Matt Judon. I do want to shout out Adrian Phillips because it is, in my opinion, like a 1A and 1B here. I
have a fun story for you after this.
Okay, go ahead. Hit me with it now.
Okay, so my high school football coach was Adrian Phillips' high school position coach.
That's awesome.
In Texas. So he coached him. I'm going to try to get a hold of him and learn a little bit about Adrian Phillips. Maybe that's something to look forward to.
Get a story going up there on the pulpit.
Yeah.
Matt Judon rules 8.5 sacks. Tied. I think he's tied for 4th in the league, 3rd in the league right now. I believe he's tied for 3rd in the league.
Yep.
He is in the overall defensive player of the year mix right now. He's not the favorite. He might not even be like the 2nd or 3rd favorite, but he's in the position to play himself into it still. No one's really run away with that yet. We'll get to who we would pick right now as of when we get in a couple picks here. But he's played himself into that position. He's been everything that the Patriots defense needed. He's everything that they signed him for. He's more than what they signed him for. We thought that he was going to be more expensive than what they signed him for. It's the best contract that they handed out in free agent. Might be the best contract that anyone handed out in free agency last season. He absolutely rules.
Hard agree.
Yeah. So Patriots offensive player of the year.
I said Jacoby Myers, and I also noted that I thought he was going to catch a touchdown.
Yes.
I've now done a complete 180. I hope he never catches a touchdown.
He can't. He's not allowed. I give him, and I want him to be the only person targeted on 2-point conversions too.
Yeah, I was just about to say I want him to score like a ton of career points, like 100 career points, but only on 2-point conversions.
Need it. Absolutely.
I'm all in on that. But I don't think you could say anyone other than Hunter Henry on the offense.
Really?
He's been so valuable to Mac Jones. And
absolutely.
The quarterback is the most valuable position on the team. And I don't think anybody would say Mac Jones. I don't know what you said, but like I don't think Mac Jones can be their offensive player of the year because he hasn't done enough. Hunter Henry has helped him so much, and I think he's exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be the Jonnu Smith show, and Hunter Henry was going to fall off. It's been all Hunter Henry, so I want to give him some love because he deserves it.
Hunter Henry rules. I like the pick. I said Damien Harris, and I'm sticking with Damien Harris. I know he has the 2 goal line fumbles. I know he directly lost them a single game. Their offense goes through Damien Harris right now. Yeah. He is the only constant. They can pass it to who again. Jacoby Myers usually leads them in targets, but outside of that, it's a complete grab bag on who's going to get. Hunter Henry had like 2 targets this week. I think he had 3 last week. He went on a nice run of touchdowns, but even then, his targets really haven't been climbing like that. Damien Harris is the primary driver of their offense. He is a very good running back, and he's proving to have a little bit of pass game value, both as a blocker and a receiver. Not much, but enough that you can keep him on the field 3 downs if you want to. So it's still Damien Harris for me. Honorable mentions would be Hunter Henry and Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, I had win, play, show I wrote down, and it was Hunter Henry, David Andrews was second, and then Damien Harris was third. Yeah. David Andrews has been through hell and back this year. And
that's completely fair. I omitted offensive linemen from this conversation, but I would give Michael Onwenu a nod as well, right. If I was going to include them. All right, overall NFL-wide defensive player of the year.
TJ Watt. I said it before the season. I think he's the scariest single defensive, other than Aaron Donald, who I don't count anymore because he's won enough, and like I don't think they're going to give him anymore, even though he should probably win it every year. As much as people want to say Trayvon Diggs, he hasn't been great in coverage. No, he has a ton of interceptions. TJ Watt's the kind of guy who can completely change a game. He did it a few weeks ago. I forget who it was against, which is a tough look, but he had a forced fumble and then later a fumble recovery to basically win the game, and a game-winning sack. He takes over games, and he's such a good player. I think he deserves to get one, and this might be the year for him. So I'm going to stick with TJ Watt.
So I think there's one player not named Aaron Donald scarier, at least one, but one.
I know who you're going to say, which I agree. I forgot about that.
So my first pick was Matt Judon. That was my boldest prediction coming into the year, and I'm taking it as a win because I would say if you were going to give odds, he shouldn't leave like the top 6, 5 to 6 range. It should be TJ Watt, Trevon Diggs, just because the interceptions are so high. Matt Judon. I don't even. There's probably a name I'm missing, so we'll throw Aaron Donald, and then we'll leave one spot for someone I'm not thinking of in the moment, and then my pick, Myles Garrett.
Yep.
10.5 sacks, leading the NFL by I think a sack and a half. And he has the narrative, right? Everyone knows Myles Garrett's a monster. Everyone's terrified of him. The Browns are kind of struggling. We'll be talking about them, I believe, next week. Patriots play them, but they've been scuffling a little bit with a bunch of injuries. But I think Myles Garrett has the narrative, and as long as he continues to lead the leading in sacks, which there's no reason to think that's going to slow down, he's on pace to get into the 20s. With the 17-game season, we're going to see records falling a lot more now, but he has a chance to break the single-season sack record right now. And if he gets even close to that, I think it's Myles Garrett's locked up. Matt Judon, you kind of expect to finish with the number of sacks he has right now. If he gets to like 13, 14, I think that's a great season. That's higher than I projected. And that's still falling off pace, but still a great season for him. I would be shocked if Myles Garrett finishes with like under 18 on the season. And if there's that type of disparity between him and anyone else, it's his award.
Yeah. I won't say I forgot about Myles Garrett, but by the time I thought of Myles Garrett, I was like, I'll just stick with TJ Watt. But right. Myles Garrett's
it's close enough that you want to stick to your guns here.
And when I say scary,
I think it's fair.
in terms of scary humans, like it's Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett. Those are 1A and B.
Myles Garrett wearing that Grim Reaper outfit or costume with all the quarterbacks he's sacked is the most scared of someone I'm not in the same room as I've ever been in my life.
Yeah. Right. TJ Watt, it's like he's a scary because he's a game wrecker and he can like ruin the game for you. Myles Garrett will eat you. Like he'll kill you. So.
We are running incredibly long here. So, we're gonna no, it's my fault more than anything. We're gonna run. We have MVP Super Bowl matchup winner. Just give me both rapid fire here.
I had Matt Stafford. I have Kyler Murray now. I really like Matt Stafford, but Kyler Murray, I think objectively has been the best player in the league so far. Super Bowl matchup, I had Rams versus Browns with the Rams winning. I do not have that any longer. I have the Rams versus no clue because the AFC is a dumpster fire, so I refuse to make a pick, and I still think the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay. I had Dak Prescott. I like the pick enough that I would stick to it, but he missed the game, and I think it's going to be close enough that that's going to make a difference. I think Tom Brady before the pick 6 would have been my pick. I'm going to go Lamar Jackson. Even if he doesn't win, it should be Lamar Jackson, given the injuries that Baltimore's had and how good they look. He had the bad game against the Bengals and then the bye week. So his stock is currently a little down and quiet, but what he's done this season is more impressive than anything I've seen from anyone else. Super Bowl matchup and winner, I had Chiefs versus Cowboys and then the Chiefs winning, and I'm sticking with that.
You think the Chiefs are going to win?
Chiefs are going to figure it out. They have such ridiculous positive half of the field on offense turnover percentage right now. It's like every other drive, but their offense is more efficient in every single way than they have been at any point in the Patrick Mahomes era, except for turnovers. As soon as those turnovers regress back towards the mean, their offense is going to be terrifying. They just traded for Melvin Ingram, which I think is going to be massive. It's a massive pickup for them.
I thought you were going to say the tight end that they got from the Jets for for the card. I was like, what?
Melvin Ingram, they have the worst defense in football. Melvin Ingram's, at least as a pass rusher, going to help that out. I still think by the end of the season, she's figured out. And I'm going to stick with the Cowboys because the NFC is such a toss-up that I want to stick to my guns and be able to say I called it from the beginning. All right. We're going to get into the 6-pack here. 6-pack questions for Keagan. Feel free to answer in the chat. Again, just for time purposes, I'm gonna rip through these, so we won't get to. I had some.
This
of
is
these
going to go 25 minutes. I know it.
I had some of these set up for discussions, but we'll hopefully rip for them. Path Nation Pod recording at 8:30 tonight, so go ahead and check that out.
9 o'clock. It got pushed back.
Oh, got back. All right. Let's rush now. Okay, we won't rip through these. Then.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out Spaz. He had something to do.
Yeah, I know he's super busy with work this week. Path Nation Pod 9 p.m. Same wherever you're watching right now. You can watch it again. We'll probably be wrapping up just before that at this rate. So make sure you're watching that. Let's get into the 6-pack. So these are just random questions. I want your answer, chat. I want your answers, and we'll have a little conversation here. So Keagan, what is your favorite holiday in honor of Halloween just passing?
It's Christmas, far and away. It's the cliche pick, but Christmas brings me so much joy. I think like my favorite thing about Christmas is the idea that everybody's supposed to be happy. That's not the case. Like kids are the worst. Families suck. Like, like stuff happens, but like the idea that people are supposed to be happy on Christmas makes me really happy. And like the fact that the Christmas season lasts like a month and a half for me is awesome. My girlfriend's a huge Halloween person, so we've got a ton of Halloween stuff like strewn amongst the apartment. I'm ripping it all down in like a week, and we're getting the Christmas stuff started early. Huge Christmas guy.
I like Christmas. I'm not going to be a Christmas hater here. As someone who grew up with separated parents, Christmas was always a little hectic because it's a lot of driving around. And now as an adult, it's usually driving to one house in the morning, driving to one house like around noon, and then I'm kind of home alone. And then I was driving to my girlfriend's house in the afternoon, and then I'm usually home alone at night. So it's a lot of stress, and then I end up home alone, which is fine with me. It's not like Christmas sucks, but it's a hectic holiday. Thanksgiving has always been the holiday where it's like I'm at one family one year and then the next. So there's no rushing around for me. I just pick one and I stick with it. I love the food. Turkey's not my favorite, but I like it. I'm not going to sit here and trash turkey. If you replace it with like ribs or something like that, brisket, I'm all with you. I'm on board.
We did Texas Thanksgiving a few years.
Absolutely.
Good time.
Yeah. No, I'm with you that it's better, but I'm also perfectly happy with the Christmas turkey, Thanksgiving turkey. Mashed potatoes are probably my favorite food on earth, period. So my grandma makes like 2 big containers of them, one for everyone else and one for me, and I take the rest home. It's great. Football is on. I'm a big family guy. I love my family. That is Thanksgiving for me. But Christmas would probably be second. Bonfire night. UK is crazy.
That sounds interesting.
Boxing
Shut
Day,
up, Boxing Day, which is it's just Black Friday. That's all that is.
All right. Question number 2. Favorite current athlete who plays outside of Boston? And I realize with the wording of this, my answer would be Mookie Betts. So I'm also going to say no like substantial Boston players who are now on different teams.
This is tough. Like, this is one of those things. I think we talked about it last time we did this, where if I see it,
yeah, we
it's
did like
come
throwback athletes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I'm like, oh, this player, and I'm like, I love this player, and then I forget about it forever. Right. I know it's not football because I don't have a ton of NFL players that I'm like, oh, I like this player, you know? Baseball, if you're not on the Red Sox, then I don't have a care for you anymore, except for Mookie, who brought me so much joy. Yeah.
Mookie's while you're thinking about this, Mookie Betts why don't you give me yours? While you're thinking of those, Mookie Betts is my favorite athlete of all time, any sport ever. So if you do follow me on Twitter, which I don't recommend, you will see that every time Mookie Betts comes up, I will be salty about it for the rest of my life. My answer is AJ Brown right now. It changes a lot, especially if you're talking about overall of all sports. But AJ Brown was my dude coming out of the draft. I've always liked the Titans a lot in general. He ended up going to the Titans. I wanted him in New England. I specifically wrote in my article that N'Keal Harry should be the AJ Brown backup plan, and they took him above AJ Brown, which I'll never get over. And he rules. He just rules. He's a cool guy. He's a beast. He's a physical specimen. And he's awesome. I love AJ Brown. AJ Brown would be my answer right now. In basketball, I'm a big Shai Gilgeous-Alexander fan. And De'Aaron Fox. Like those would be some options if I was going to throw a basketball player in the mix. And baseball, I'm with you where I don't have a ton of baseball guys. I end up falling for like role players, and they usually end up in Boston. I called Cody Ross and I called Mitch Moreland. So I take credit for those. So I love Mitchie. But I've
got 2 answers for you.
Baseball. All right, hit me with it.
So Brock Holt is my favorite athlete, but he's a Boston guy. Like I'll forever think of him as a Red Sox player. So I'm gonna cheat.
Chris Olave.
It's Chris Olave. I love him to death. Like he's.
I love the Woody Page board you have back there, by the way.
I'm gonna keep changing it up. I think it's gonna become my thing. So Chris
Olave
at Patriots, just so they know. So in 2018, during the Ohio State-Michigan game, his coming out party, he scored like 3 touchdowns. I tweeted before the game, like, I really like number 17 on Ohio State. And then he like blew up. And then after that season ended, I was like, Chris Olave, that's my guy. I'm going to become the Chris Olave guy. And I am. That's who I am. He's my baby boy. I hope the Patriots draft him just so I can watch him every week. But no matter where he goes, he's the kind of guy, no matter where he goes, I think I'm going to root for him because he's so likable and he plays football. Like he plays wide receiver the way I want my wide receivers to play wide receiver, if that makes sense. So big fan of Chris Olave.
Just going to circle back to baseball real quick. For now, Tatis and like Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto would be the obvious answers. I also want to shout out Jazz Chisholm. And Dark Blue Gold, Alvin Kamara was another one of my draft guys, and he would probably be second in the NFL for me right now. So I'm very much with you there. All right, question number 2. Like, we are not on a good pace here. 3 moves to improve the Red Sox. This is a discussion one. So it's all right. Keagan hit me with his master plan. He referenced it on show last week. He hit me with it in the DMs. So give me your top 3 moves of your master plan.
So like you said, we discussed this a little bit. So it's like I've made some revisions to my master plan.
Yeah.
I've decided that the number 1 move the Red Sox need to make, Chris Taylor. Get him. The positional versatility that this guy has is second to none. I think he can become a guy who's interchangeable with Kike, and you have 2 Kikes, and who wouldn't want 2 Kike Hernandezes on their team? I really like Chris Taylor as a player. I think he's the perfect guy for who they are right now, where I don't think they're gonna spend a ass ton of money. They might, but he's a guy where they can get away with being a little bit cheap and still getting a quality player. I did have Freddie Freeman as one of my moves to improve the Red Sox. I thought he was going to be like the perfect fit, but I changed it. You convinced me to change my mind, where I think Tristan Cassis is going to be ready, like not at the beginning of the season, but like as a midseason call-up, and he's going to be that good. Yep. So it's kind of a cheap move call Tristan Cassis up early in the season
Okay.
and get him ready for the playoffs. That's move number 2. And then number 3 is sign a ton of righty bullpen guys who throw 100 miles an hour like the Rays.
Yeah.
And just be the Rays.
Yeah.
That's the third move.
I'm with it. So my 3, it is going to be a little bit boring too. Number 1, re-sign Eddie Rodriguez. I'll bunch 2 into 1 here. Re-sign Eddie Rodriguez and keep Kyle Schwarber. Be my first. We'll keep the re-signings as 1. Number 2, my big splash would be Marcus Semien. Lets you move Kike to the outfield full time. It gives you a second baseman, and if Xander Bogaerts long term needs to move off shortstop, that gives you a guy who can probably age into shortstop. He was a shortstop until this year was a second baseman. He's someone who can age as a shortstop if he ends up somewhere that has him playing there. So it gives you an option there until like a Marcelo Meyer is ready if he ends up panning out. So that would be my big splash. And then number 3 is just find one of those 1 to 2 year pitchers that can provide you a starting pitching option. I like Marcus Stroman.
Richards was going to be
right. Exactly. I like Marcus Stroman. He's going to get more than that. I think Alex Wood would be an interesting one. Any of the Giants guys that isn't Kevin Gausman, who's probably going to get the second biggest contract that pitchers get, or third probably biggest contract behind Carlos Rodon and Robbie Ray. Just another option so that you don't need both Garrett Whitlock and Tanner Houck to pan out perfectly as starters, and you can either piggyback them or use them. Red Sox stats had an idea of 5-man rotation, and then you piggyback them with the 4th and 5th starter. So you go get 4 innings out of your 4th and 5th starters, and they go 5 to finish the game. Or you get 5, they go 4 to finish the game. So they have like 30 appearances, but like 100-something innings in year 2 of Major League play, which I love. I don't think they would do it. It's not really a thing you see done, but I love that idea. Lets you get away with a shorter bullpen because you're only using them 3 out of 5 games. I'm all the way in on that idea. So
I think we both forgot. Give Rafael Devers every dime you have.
Yeah, extension for Devers, absolutely.
Max, I
saw someone ask Sox Stats today about a potential Devers trade with the Mariners, and it was to get very good. It was Jared Kelenic and Julio Rodriguez, 2 great outfield prospects. They're going to be studs. You don't trade Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers is the type of player that you can't justify trading as being as a Red Sox. Like even if you would technically be getting the better player in the trade long term, you can't trade Rafael Devers.
I think I talked to a buddy of mine about this, but Rafael Devers seems like the perfect guy where maybe like a Juan Soto contract, you don't even have to give him a ton of money. You just give him like a really good contract, like a whatever it was, 8 years, $200 million, or 10 years, $200 million. I think he'll take that and he'll just be happy hitting baseballs and getting paid a lot of money.
He had the quote back in like May. They asked him what he likes about his job. He said, "They pay me well. I play baseball and I hit homers. What's not to like?" I love him. I love him. If he ever is not on the Red Sox, I'll cry. All right. Question number 3. Favorite non-sports related hobby? You are a famous big sports guy, for sport season year round. I thought this might be a tough question for you, but I was curious.
This is tough because even like my non-sports things are sports things, like the things that I do that aren't sports. I think my girlfriend's like, it's sports. Like you don't have anything. Let me circle back. Why don't you tell me yours so I can think? Because I'm not a video game guy.
So I asked this question to last time I did a 6-pack, which was, I believe, with Pat and our last audience representative, Ryan Jackson. I asked the same question. I repurposed it. Shirley is wearing caps for all of you. I'm not an exclusive hat guy. Keegan's an exclusive hat guy. I was overdue for a haircut like 6 weeks ago, and I still haven't gotten one. So hat's pretty much the only option right now. I threw out a few answers. I have a piano right there. I'm kind of ADHD with my hobbies. I'll pick stuff up and drop it. Around the corner is a guitar. I spent like 2 years learning guitar. I'm not particularly good at it, so I kind of switched to piano. I think I'm already on a better path with piano over like 3 months than I was in 2 years with guitar. The real answer though is video games. I just don't like saying that answer, but video games have always been my thing.
That's tough. So I'm gonna give you one. I'm a boring person. Everything sports. I'll say this. I work full time. I go to school full time, and then I do Pat's Pulpit like a lot of hours a week. Don't have a ton of time. I really like to binge TV shows. Like I'll rip through them, but I'll give you a fun one from when I was a kid. I was a huge baseball and football card collector as a kid, like ginormous. I've got bins and bins and bins at my parents' and grandparents' houses. And that's something I still like to get into. Like I've got this cool Earl Campbell card that.
Oh yeah, that's dope.
It's like signed by Earl Campbell. It's real cool. I went on this like 2-month thing where I was obsessed with Earl Campbell, and I went on eBay and bought every Earl Campbell thing I could. And this was one of them, and I really like it. So every time I see like cards at Target or my nephew got into them, like it brings me fuzzy feelings from my childhood. Right. So card collecting as a child.
All right, I love it.
Childhood thing.
All right, next question. This is a half rhetorical question. One move to improve the Celtics, because what the heck?
I'm anti-Celtics.
They should be Boston's number one team right now with the Jays, and I hate them. I can't stomach watching them right now.
That's the word I've used when I've talked about them to people. Like I don't like them.
No.
I love Jaylen Brown. He's my favorite athlete right now. I love Jaylen Brown.
My Boston Sports Power Rankings top 3 is Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, that's a great one. I think mine would be pretty much the same thing. Like, I really, really like Jaylen Brown. I don't know if I like any other player on the team. I like as people, I think they're all fine. Like I don't know them.
I'm still all in on Jason Tatum. I am beginning to get into the 98.5 train of can you long term have both of them? You should. It shouldn't be a question of it, but it's been an extended issue at this point long enough where it's like, why do I have to think about this?
As a sports fan, like I'm not a huge basketball fan. I'm pretty much just a Celtics in playoffs kind of guy. Right. I can't stand watching ISO basketball. It makes me want to jump off a building. Like I hate it, and that's who Jason Tatum is right now. So it's infuriating to watch.
So what's frustrating, and that would be my one move to be kind of a cop out, is just Marcus Smart said it the other day. They need to continue to step up as distributors. They both are capable of it. Jason Tatum has maybe the most underrated court vision in the league, and it's underrated because he just rarely utilizes it.
Doesn't use it. Yeah.
But they are still both extremely young players. It has been something that's been improving year over year, and right now they just aren't getting wins because they have 2 good players, 3 okay players, and young, unproven, probably bad pieces behind it. They aren't a very good team, but they have 2 talented enough players that they should be able to carry to like a home court seed in the playoffs. And they just aren't. And they need to get it figured out. I refuse to get on the train of that you need to trade one until one says I want out of here.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I am it is starting to creep into the back of my head like what if this just maybe isn't a thing that works? And that will break my heart. It's the NBA, so I'm not expecting either of them to spend their entire careers here. But I do want to see success with both of them together.
I'll give you my answer. It's kind of a 2-parter. First and foremost, it's kind of balance their minutes. I don't really want them on the floor at the same time a ton. Like beginning of game, end of game.
Right now for sure. And
they
then, basically just take turns finding their shot.
First 5 minutes, last 5 minutes, I want them on the floor together. The rest of the game, I don't. And then I don't know basketball enough to know who this person is, but give me I think it's Rajon Rondo. Maybe not him specifically.
The answer would have been Lonzo Ball this offseason. It would have been Lonzo Ball. Yeah. He would have been perfect here. I know a lot of people were on it. It was like Bulls or Celtics were like the 2 perfect fits for him. And he ends up going to the Bills, which is who the Celtics obviously just collapsed against. But this was mostly rhetorical. I just wanted to complain about the Celtics for a minute or two. All right. Last question in the 6-pack. Favorite championship? Which one championship is the one that stands out as your absolute favorite?
Patriots?
Any sport.
People are going to hate this. UMass hockey.
Oh, okay.
So they won the national championship.
This past year, right? The one you went to Pittsburgh?
Terrible answer. They're the current national champions. I got to go. This is like right. I got vaccinated, and then like 3 days later, I got to go. So it was like right when I started to do things again. Me and my buddy took the trip out to Pittsburgh, and we went to the first game, which was on a Friday, or first game was on a Thursday. They won, and then we decided to buy tickets to the championship game. It's the Frozen Four is what they call it.
Yeah.
We needed something to do in middle of the day, so we drove from Pittsburgh to Cleveland. We went to a Cleveland Guardians game, a soon-to-be Guardians game.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Christmas Story House, which is my favorite movie of all time. And then we did something else. And then we went back to Pittsburgh, watched it. They won the national championship. We were there. I met John Butchergross, who's the best. Like that, basically, that experience made me love that championship. So that's my answer. My second answer is 2018 Red Sox because I had like an emotional attachment to that team.
That's my answer. 2004 Red Sox is a great answer. I think 2001 Patriots, if I was a little older, would be a great answer. Super Bowl 51 and 49 are great answers. It's the 2018 Red Sox for me. We talked about it before, you and I. The Red Sox are my favorite team. I think it might have been even last week that we talked about with Pat. The Red Sox are my favorite. Yeah, the Red Sox are my favorite team. Football is my favorite sport, but if the Patriots didn't exist, I could watch football and be okay. I would probably just be a fan, an NFL fan. You know, I wouldn't have a team to root for, but I would still watch the NFL.
Right.
I watch like 140 to 150 Red Sox games a year. Like the Red Sox are 6 months of my year, every single year. I love the Red Sox. So in 2018, I was in college. It was Mookie Betts MVP year. That was the move. Is the Red Sox. So finally gets us on to third down. We're gonna pull in our audience member at Team Crazy Matt on Twitter, Matt Monito. How you doing tonight, pal?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. So the audience is 0-1 so far. Our first audience representative, Ryan Jackson, lost to Pat a few weeks ago. Matt is going to try and kind of turn the tide around for you guys against Keagan here. So for those of you who haven't seen the Picks of Trivia competition yet, it is going to be 6 rounds. Each round will have 2 questions, one for each opponent. If they get their question right, they get a point. If they get it wrong, their opponent has a chance to steal. And if they steal, they would get a point. Whoever has the most points after 6 rounds wins. If there's a tie, we have a tiebreaker question. We haven't had a tie yet. So that's all that goes into it. You'll have about 30 seconds to answer. I'm not super strict with the buzzer, but I'll keep us moving. So we're going to flip a coin to determine the order that we go in. So once this loads, Matt, in 3, 2, 1, call it in the air. 3,
Heads.
2, heads.
Heads. Matt Slater. Heads.
It is heads. You want to go first or second?
I will go second.
You're going to go second. All right. So I'm going to pull up a timer here. And Keagan, you'll have 30 seconds after I read the first question. And I need to pull up the banners here. Okay, make sure both of you guys are in the private chat so chat can play along.
Yep.
If you guys in the chat when you see the questions, go ahead and send your answers in the chat. So first round is the matchup of the week, which is New England versus Carolina. So the questions will be regarding games that New England and Carolina have played in their history. Both these questions are Super Bowl themed. Super Bowl they played. Okay, Keagan, 30 seconds from when I finish reading the answer. In Super Bowl 38, Antoine Smith scored the only rushing touchdown for the Patriots. Who scored the only rushing touchdown for the Panthers?
It's Deshaun Foster, final answer.
That is a quick point on the board for Keagan. I thought that was going to be tough. I had to think about it for a minute when I was writing this question.
Yeah, it was Davis to Foster and Foster that year, and Foster had the touchdown.
Yep. All right, Matt, to keep pace, 30 seconds from when I finish reading the question. Mike Vrabel caught a go-ahead receiving touchdown as the Patriots went up 29-22 on a 2-point conversion. Who scored the Panthers' subsequent game-tying receiving touchdown before Adam Vinatieri's game winner?
Same guy as 2 years before, Ricky Prohl.
Yep, sure was. Ricky Prohl, final answer. It is 1-1 after one round. Very quick. I thought those would be gettable ones. I'm glad. Sometimes I make the questions a little hard, so I'm glad we got some points on the board early here. Category, round number 2, baseball career paths. So I'm going to read off. I'm giving you the position of the player and the teams he's played for in his career in the order that he played for them. You're going to name the player for me.
All right.
So Keagan, 30 seconds from when I finish reading the question. Name this currently active pitcher based off this career path. White Sox, Cubs, Angels, Giants. 30 seconds.
I know exactly who it is. The name.
You got
it's the name. White Sox to Cubs. It was the trade.
You got about 20 more seconds to come up with a name. Chat, feel free to play along. If you know it, these guys won't be cheating. They'll be in the private chat, so they'll have some time.
It's not Jose Barrios, because that's the Twins guy.
5 seconds. I need an answer.
Jose Quintana.
Final answer?
Yes, final answer.
And he pulled it at the very last second.
It's the
Jose
Angels.
Quintana.
I looked back up and saw Angels, and I was like, that's who it is.
Jose Quintana. I saw him pitch this year against the Orioles. I was in Baltimore for an afternoon when I was heading down to Carolina for a week. And I've never been to Camden, and they were playing a day game. I was there on a Thursday. They were playing a 1:00 game against the Angels. Tickets were like $6. So I told my girlfriend, I was like, let's just go for a few hours. And Jose Quintana came in as the first reliever.
He was terrible with the Angels.
He was terrible as soon as he left the White Sox. I wanted him on the Red Sox when the White Sox were trading him. I loved Jose
I knew exactly
Quintana
who it was.
Yeah. Camden,
right, Matt,
good choice with Camden. Best ballpark in the game in my book.
Very much on board with that. I'll lean there. Fenway personally, but Camden rules. It's the only two I've been to, so I can't say definitively, but I loved Camden. It was awesome.
My PNC in Pittsburgh is sweet.
I have PNC's on my to-go list. I've been to Target Field out in Minnesota. That one's great too.
Yeah.
All right. To keep pace, Matt is 2-1 Keagan right now. Name this currently active outfielder based on his career path. Diamondbacks, White Sox, Nationals, back to the White Sox, and then the Angels. 30 seconds.
I got an idea because I'm a Twins fan, so they play against the White Sox all the time, so I should know all the White Sox outfielders. I got one player in mind just from the middle three teams.
You got about 10 seconds to throw your answer.
I'll take a shot. Adam Eaton.
Final answer?
Sure.
We're 4 for 4 so far. I'm loving this. That was a great pull. 2 great pulls there. It was Adam Eaton. I thought that one might trip you up. I was kind of proud of pulling Adam Eaton there. But we love to see points on the board. 2-2. We're on pace. The record for points in a match is 5. It's been said a few times. We're already at 2 each through 2 rounds here. So you guys are on pace here. Round 3 is the Panthers. There's going to be questions about the Panthers' history. Any players mentioned is only their time with the Panthers. So if I ask for example, career receiving touchdowns, that only applies to their time with the Panthers. It's not overall any other teams they play with. Okay, Keagan, to take the lead yet again. Steve Smith is first in all-time Panthers receiving yards. Who is second?
I feel like it's between like 2 guys, and I'm going to get it wrong. Is it Mushin Muhammad?
Final answer?
Yeah.
Keagan, you're 3 for 3. It's Mushin Muhammad. That's great.
I thought the Bears, Bears years were going to kill me.
Second Mushin Muhammad reference on this show. I realized after I wrote the question, he came up a few weeks ago when I had Brian and Mark Schofield on.
That helped because it was between him and I thought like Ted Ginn just racked up a ton with Cam Newton.
So the only 2 guys I had in mind too.
Dark Blue Gold through Greg Olson out there, which was who I was hoping.
That's a good one.
I'll save my thought process here for after Matt's question, so I don't accidentally give something away here. But okay, Matt, to keep pace yet again, Cam Newton is 3rd all time in Panthers rushing yards. Who is first?
Ooh.
Well, it's not Deshaun Foster. At least I don't think so.
I don't think it is either. I got a couple players in mind. Just trying to run through there.
Got about 10 seconds.
One of 2. I'll go with the other older guy. Steven Davis. Final answer.
That is incorrect. We have our first wrong answer of the game. Keagan, you'll have about 10 seconds to steal here.
I was hoping he was going to go between D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart because it's one of those 2.
I'm going to need your answer right about now.
Stewart. He's older.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Keagan steals the point. That is massive. It's Jonathan Stewart. Those are the 2.
Forgot about that era.
Those are the 2.
So a little thought process. I try to leave questions like this where you're picking between 2, maybe 3 options. And which is why Cam Newton ended up on this list. Because what jumped out to me when I usually try to guess myself and see how close I get to determine how good these are. And I was going between Stewart and Williams, and they were top 2, and then Newton was 3rd. So I
do you know how long they played together?
I don't have it in front of me. It was a while ago.
was like 5 years, right?
Yeah.
It was a very long time,
Yeah.
it feels like.
So that is a massive round. We're halfway through now, and Keagan has 4 points. Again, the record's 5, so we're on record watch. But Matt's putting on a good showing, so this is absolutely not over by any means. One good round here, and Matt's right back in the mix. So this is a bit of a complicated round. I'm going to explain it before. And if you guys have any questions, I'll pause the timer. It's a little bit of a complicated one. I want to try it out. So the category is called actor connections. So
Ooh.
I'm going to read you off a chain. You guys know the 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's similar to that. So I'm going to give you an actor, a movie they were in, a blank, another movie, and then another actor, and you need to fill in the connection. So what it really boils down to is you need to give me the actor who was in both of the movies surrounding him.
Okay.
Did you do this with like Brian and somebody else or something?
I don't think I did something similar to this. I've thought about it. I might have thrown something like this.
I've
in and
seen something
forgotten.
like this before, but yeah, I got you.
I stole this from the dozen. If you guys,
That's where I've seen it.
I stole this from the dozen. I thought it was really cool. I wanted to get it in here.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I stole the career paths from them too. Those are my 2 favorite questions that they do. Shout out Jeff D'Lo. All right. So if you see the question and you're confused, again, I'll pause the timer. It's a little bit of a complicated one. Again, what it boils down to is you want the actor who's been in both movies listed, and then the outside ones are to kind of narrow it down for you a little bit. Okay. So Keagan, 30 seconds from when I finish reading the question. Fill in the blank to complete the chain. Leonardo DiCaprio, Inception, blank, The Dark Knight, Christian Bale. 30 seconds.
I've never seen Inception.
Oh no.
And the only person I know in that is Elliot Page, and I know not in The Dark Knight. So I'm gonna skip. I don't want to give an answer and give something away.
Okay.
So I'm gonna skip
Matt,
this one.
you'll have 10 seconds to steal here.
Michael Caine.
Final answer?
Yep.
That is incorrect.
Oh,
It's
thank God.
Cillian Murphy.
Damn.
But we also had that in the chat, so I just want to verify that Michael Caine was not also in Inception.
Thought he was at the beginning and the end sequences.
So I'm going to look up his IMDb real quick, and we're just going to super verify.
Is Cillian Murphy the dude from Peaky Blinders?
Peaky Blinders, yep. He was the bad guy's
Scarecrow.
son in Inception. Yep, and he was Scarecrow. All right, let me. I'm just gonna verify that. Oh, he was in Inception.
Give him
That
the
is
point.
I'm gonna give him the point. That is my bad. It popped up in. Yeah, that's my bad. And
I was
that's
gonna
why
say
this-
Michael Caine, and that's the
that's
guy
why
who I
these-
didn't want to give an answer away, so I didn't. Say
That's
that.
why these questions are hard because it's very it's hard to verify every single person who might have even had a small role in the actor, which is why I haven't tried it until now. But all right, so we'll give Matt the point there, which is huge for him. Pulls it back to 4-3. Apologize for the mistake here. So we'll double verify any wrong answers that are on this question as well. So Matt, for a chance to tie it up with sweep of a category right back on Keagan. Fill in the blank to complete the chain. Jim Carrey, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, blank, Avengers Infinity War, Robert Downey Jr.
I haven't
30
seen
seconds.
either of those. I still haven't
Oh,
seen Infinity
no.
War. I'm gonna end up taking a shot in the dark at this. At some point once I come up with a name.
Yeah, I have about 10 seconds to throw a name out.
I got nothing. I haven't got a name.
No answers. Keagan, you'll have 10
No
seconds for
answer.
the steal.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Final answer.
Yeah, sure.
That is incorrect. We had a correct answer in the chat. Shout out Dark
ScarJo?
Gold. He got both of these. Is Mark Ruffalo.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's fine.
Mark Ruffalo.
I completely missed him.
All right. So it's still 4-3.
Mhm.
Game very much in the balance here. We have 2 categories left, 4 total points on the board. We're still on record watch. If Keagan gets both his questions right, he not only wins the game, he sets the record for most points in a game. So round 5, as always, is the Patriots.
Way to put the pressure on.
Score is Keagan 4,
Mhm.
Matt 3. Keagan, you have 30 seconds to answer the question once I finish reading. The Patriots have been shut out 3 times since 2000. Which divisional opponent is the only team that hasn't shut is the only divisional opponent that hasn't shut them out in that time frame?
Oh. Is it a trick question or is it not a trick question? That's where I'm going here.
I got the same idea, I think, Keagan.
I'm gonna assume you went a little tricky on me. I'm gonna say the Miami Dolphins.
Final answer?
Final answer.
That is incorrect.
Neither
10
of
seconds
those.
for this team.
Neither of those were what I was thinking. I don't know. I know the Dolphins have. I know the Bills have. I don't know about the Jets, but I'm gonna. How much time?
Yeah, I'm gonna need the answer now.
Indianapolis Colts.
Final answer. I was hoping you guys were gonna ask me to clarify that. I didn't want to just give it away. It is active divisional opponents. The answer is the Jets.
Nah, it was worth a shot.
Yeah, the Bills.
We
have
had
shut
two
them
different
out.
trick questions in mind. You thought he was going Colts, and I thought he was just the Jets was too obvious.
No,
The Bills
look
shut
at
them out twice. Once in 2016, the Jacoby Brissett game, and once
Yep.
in 2003, and the Dolphins shut them out in 2006.
It was what 21-0, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So
Well,
still
it was
4
36-0 the first Bills game.
Yeah, the 3-1. Yep.
31, yeah.
All right, Matt. Chance to tie it up again.
Damn.
The Patriots have had 12 shutouts since 2000, shutting their opponent out.
Okay.
The AFC East opponents account for 6 of them. Which team have they shut out the most in that time frame?
Of course, doesn't say that it is an AFC East opponent, which is an important distinction.
They have shut out the AFC 6 out of those 12. AFC 6 out of those 12. Which team have they shut out the most?
Oh, okay.
10 seconds for an answer.
I can think of a couple for the others. I'll go Buffalo Bills. Final answer, just because I beat them a lot.
That is incorrect.
Yeah.
You try to give him the
10
answer. It's the
seconds.
Miami Dolphins. Final answer.
It is the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
You try to give it away. You
They shut out the Dolphins 3 times. They shut out the Bills twice.
Okay.
And then the Jets, Chargers, Texans, Titans, Packers, Bucks, and Cowboys all got.
Texans was the other Jacoby Brissett game.
Yep.
I was
They were
remembering.
back to back. Jacoby Brissett won a shutout and then lost a shutout. Keagan has 5 points. Matt has 3. Keagan, you're dormied. You cannot lose in regulation. Matt, you need to sweep this round
All
in
right.
order to force overtime. Keagan, you get either question right, you've set a record. You get both wrong, but Matt doesn't get both of them right, you win. You're in a good position here. Matt's put up a hell of a performance, though. 3 points in 6 rounds is a solid showing. Solid showing. In 5 rounds, you have a chance for more.
He didn't have chance for some points too because I got them on the first drive.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Round 6, pop artists.
Oh, yikes!
I'm just as scared as you are.
I think these are gettable. It's relevant pop artists culturally. I think they're gettable.
I can cross out Harry Styles because we're Harry Styles guys. So I'm good on that.
All right.
And it's not. Yeah, you'll see the questions. All right, 30 seconds. Keagan for the win and the record. Taylor Swift has been re-recording her old albums to own the masters of them, labeling them Taylor's version. Which previously released album is getting a Taylor's version on November 12th?
She's got like 2 album names I know. Red. That's the only one I definitely know. So Red is my final answer.
Keagan, you have the win and the record. That is correct. It is Red. Red comes out on November 12th.
I didn't know that one. I knew
a Swift.
1989 already had one.
Those were the only 2 names I knew.
Fun fact. Fearless got the first one. I am a Taylor Swift fan. I'm very excited for Red. One of her better albums.
Cool.
Shout out Red. So Keagan, you have the record. You can add to it if Matt gets his wrong and you get a chance to steal. Matt, very respectable showing. The audience is 0-2, but you guys have put up 2 of the better point totals on the season. So nothing to be upset at here.
All right.
Finish it off strong here. Adele has had a series of number titled albums with 19, 21, 25, and her upcoming album 30. What recently released song is the lead single for 30?
Easy on me. I hope we don't get copyright struck for that. Final answer.
Final answer. Yeah, that's correct. It's Easy on Me. Very solid showing, Matt. That's 4 points on the board. 4 points on the board for Matt. Keagan, however, sets a record with 6 points.
Well done.
Just a dominant showing. Keagan,
I even switched to my Myers jersey for the advantage, and you got your no touchdown.
Extremely strong. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted this, but now it's not updated. I'm struggling here. It's been a long show, long day. Final score: Keagan and now it's not updating. We love this here. This is how you close out a show, folks. This is the professional touch that you come to twitch.tv/PathPulpit for. Final score: Keagan 6, Matt 4. Keagan, you lost your first game of the season last week to Pat, but you still led the league in points per game, and you come out and you set a record this week. How does it feel to have a nice little bounce back here?
It feels good. I was beating myself up about it all week. Now I can compose myself a little bit and know that I'm still the king.
Matt,
more points than anybody else, right? Still number one.
Yep. So you were number one going into it. You've added a very strong cushion coming in here with 6 points. The record showing again. Matt, you as an audience member, you've been in the chat a bunch. You usually have strong showings from the chat. You put it on display here in the spotlight. We really appreciate you hanging out.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
How'd that feel? That was a strong performance, but it kind of felt like you were always playing a little bit behind.
It was. I didn't really know what to expect. I was just hoping you wouldn't throw a basketball category at me, and then you threw baseball, which was very nice to see. But no, just it was a good showing by Keagan. I can't fault. I feel like I had a good show, and Keagan had a better one. Can't really.
Do you regret picking to go second and letting him get that ball rolling right off the bat? He put you a point down in each of the first 2 categories, each of the first 3 categories.
No, because I would have missed Jose Quintana. I would have gotten Muhsin Muhammad, but he ended up stealing that one anyway. So I feel like we would have ended up about the same.
Okay.
And I would have missed Taylor Swift.
I didn't know Adam Eaton, so I think we were even on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's fair. He talked through his process there. I think it was a solid process to go second. I try to balance them out so there's no inherent advantage going one way or the other. Matt, we really appreciate you coming on, and we're gonna get out of here. It was 3rd down. Now we're gonna go ahead and punt just like the Patriots do. Keagan, give me a game prediction here for Patriots Panthers.
I think they should thoroughly handle the Panthers, especially if really either way with quarterback, but especially Sam Darnold's out there. I'm gonna go 33-17 Patriots.
Okay. Matt, what do you think?
First number that came to mind was also 33, just hearkening back to Deshaun Foster because that was his number. I'll go, or that was how long his touchdown run was. I don't remember if it was his number. I'll say 33-14.
Okay. I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid on this Patriots team a little bit. I've been the downer on them, especially on this show all season. I think that they come out and they make a statement here. They say we're ready to start really competing for a playoff spot here. I'm not going to go quite the domination you guys are talking, but I think we're going to be looking at another 27. We'll go Sam Darnold starts 27-10. PJ Walker starts. We're going to go 27-17. So that's going to do it for us. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. I think we're going to have Spags on, and we might run it back with Spags and Brian. We'll see. But we'll be back next week. We'll recap the Panthers. We'll talk Browns, and we'll do some more trivia. Matt, thank you for coming on. Keagan,
thanks for inviting me.
Win. And we will see you guys next week.